Another week, another dollar.
Something like that.
I mean, what a week in the NFL it was this season, this week.
Yeah.
Not this season.
Yeah.
The favorites awful again, 6-9 against the spread.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been a trend this year. I mean, they're 25-36 against the spread for the whole year, which is horrible. I mean, that's really bad.
It's atrocious. I mean, you can't do much worse than that. It's 11 games under 500 so far. We thought at some point the favorites were going to bounce back. That still could kind of happen, but the home teams have really been the story. They're 8-7 this past week at home against the spread.
Oh yeah, the home teams, they're bouncing back a little bit, and I feel like a lot of underdogs are winning as home teams.
Yeah,
which I think is something to keep an eye on. Like home field advantage maybe means a little bit more now.
Right. Yeah, the public 2-1 this week in prime time. I feel like it would have been 1-2. Tua got hurt, in the middle of that Thursday night football game. So I kind of think the Dolphins would have had that one, and the public faded the Dolphins. So we'll see, what happens going forward with the public. We're obviously going to fade them again this week. And there's only one undefeated team left in the NFL.
Yeah, just those pesky
Eagles.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah,
I mean,
Eagles
they look good. They look really good. Offense and defense. They can run the ball. They can throw the ball. They're a pretty complete football team right now. I mean, they haven't played anyone that good, but they're beating who's in front of them. Only team to do that so far.
Right. Who do you think they're going to lose to? Their next games are against the Cardinals, then they're the Cowboys, the Steelers, the Texans, the Commies, and then the Colts. I mean, where do you see a loss on their schedule?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really see one. Like the Cowboys feels like a trap game because maybe Dak comes back, but that's at home. The Steelers at home, I'm not too worried about it.
Yeah.
Texans on the road, I'm not too worried. Commanders at home, we saw what they did to them on the road. I'm really not worried. And at the Colts, I mean, maybe the Colts are good by then, but I mean, we could be looking at them potentially being, 10-0 here.
Yeah, I don't know about 10-0. They could slip up at some point.
Yeah.
There are a few good offenses they have to go against. With the Cardinals, we'll see if Dak's back against the Cowboys. But then when they get to Steelers, Texans, Commanders, Colts, those should be 4 pretty easy wins for the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, I do think they're going to be favored in the remainder of these games, in these next 6 games.
At least for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
We have one winless team. Houston.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they've got that tie, but they are winless.
Yeah. When do they get their win? They have the Jaguars, the Raiders, then the Titans, Eagles, Giants, and Commanders.
I mean, I think there's a couple of chances there. Yeah. The Jags are pretty good, but they could get surprised. The Raiders, they're nothing special. The Titans, nothing special. The Eagles are good, like we've said. Giants, nothing special. Commanders, nothing special. I think they could sneak one in there.
Definitely.
But they kind of do remind me a little bit of the Lions from last year, where they're frisky kind of, where they lose games kind of close. So I feel like they could start off 0-0 a lot, but they're just going to get a couple of random ones in there.
Yeah, they might tally a win off here or there against the Raiders. They're going to be underdogs in a lot of these games, so it's just really about when they're going to pull out that first win. I
mean, they're going to be underdogs in probably all their games.
I mean, they're definitely a rebuilding team, so it's not like anybody's expecting too much from them right now. I just think they got not a tough schedule, but they're not playing any really bad teams. I guess they are the really bad team.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I mean, who are the other, horrible teams in the NFL?
Right now, the Colts.
Yeah, but we saw them play week 1. I do still think the Colts are probably better than the Texans. What other teams are in the same category? Maybe the Bears.
I mean, people thought the Seahawks and the Falcons were going to be bad, but at least their offenses.
They're competent.
Yeah, and their defenses can hold the other team to, under 3 touchdowns, let's say. I think the Seahawks and Falcons have enough firepower to keep the games close. It's just the Texans seem to be lacking any weapons offensively, defensively.
They also don't have a real head coach. I actually really like Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith is a nice guy, seemingly always been a nice guy.
Yeah.
But he's been bad at his last 4 coaching stops.
Right.
So
including college.
Yeah, why do we think he's going to be good for the Texans?
I don't think the Texans are
I think they're
asking that much of him though.
They hired him so he could lose every game this year, and I think they're going to fire him afterwards.
That's probably going to happen. I don't know about fire him this year. If they're not ready next year, I could see him coaching another season, and then when they're
I think
ready
he's
for
like
an
Hugh
actual,
Jackson. He's like a mercy lamb. Like they hired him just to fire him eventually.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Yeah.
Some other news this week: big John Taylor injury.
Yeah, he's not playing tonight.
Yeah, big Javonte Williams injury.
Out for the year.
So
Tua.
Yeah, Tua again.
Could be out
big
indefinitely.
Controversial injury there with Tua. So kind of the week of the big player going down. We'd like to see those guys all come back as soon as possible, obviously, but kind of a big storyline this past week.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem like John Taylor is going to be out for that long. I mean, it's only an ankle sprain, but like Javonte Williams, like losing him for the year is going to really hurt. Like Melvin Gordon is pretty good, but he's not as good as Javonte Williams. Yeah. I think that one's going to be tough. I think the Tua one, underrated, could not be as big of a deal as people think. Like I think Tua is good, but I think Teddy Bridgewater is kind of like Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, I think like, he's a good enough starter to keep them competitive in games.
Yeah, and he's been around. Like he was on the Dolphins last year. Like, you know, he's been through the whole coaching change. Just like
he was on the Broncos
last year.
No, a few years ago.
Yeah. But now he was on the Dolphins the last 2 years.
Right. So while we're speaking here of the Broncos, they play tonight in Thursday night football against the Colts. They are -3.5, and we're obviously gonna fade that pick. The public is on the Broncos, so we're gonna go ahead and ride the Colts here at +3.5. You know, both these teams have just been really disappointing so far this year.
Yeah, really, like this game looked good on paper probably when they scheduled it at the beginning of the year, and now I'm like, I really feel like I'm going to need to avert my eyes during moments of this game.
Yeah, both these teams were really supposed to be Super Bowl contenders,
and their
preseason,
and it was because of their new quarterbacks they acquired, who have both been really underwhelming.
Yeah, and
I mean, fun facts about Matt Ryan. Just need to get this one in there.
Yeah,
he has 10 fumbles through 4 games. The NFL record for fumbles in a season is 27. So he's on pace to shatter that. Yeah. Like he could double this thing.
Yeah, that's totally possible. And both teams are missing their starting running backs tonight. Also, Javonte and John Taylor, like we talked about. The reason we kind of like the Colts here tonight, Indy kind of had a good second half coming back against the Titans, where I really didn't see much from the Broncos in the second half of their game this weekend. I just think the Colts, there's really no reason they should win this game other than the public is on the Broncos.
Well, I mean, here's how I can kind of rationalize it. The Colts offense has been really bad and their defense has been okay.
Right.
But it feels pretty obvious at this point that like the Colts offense, like they're not scoring a ton of points, but the Broncos offense isn't really going to either. So like I could see this like just being a really low scoring game. Like you know, like what I'm saying, like 2017, like the Colts cover that.
Yeah, speaking of, that brings us to one of our scary selections. Under 42.5 in this game. It's
very scary.
It's almost too good to be true. Both these teams are bottom 3 in the league in scoring, with the Colts averaging 14.3 points per game, the Broncos 16.5 points per game.
2 stars out.
Yeah, on offense and defense for both teams. I just don't think
Randy Gregory for the Broncos and Shaq Leonard for the Colts.
Yeah, and then here's a really big stat for the under. The Colts have hit all 4 unders this year and 9 consecutively dating back to last season.
That is unbelievable. Like genuinely shocking.
So I mean, it's a really low 42.5, but it's almost
that's why it's scary.
It's a scary selection here. I mean, the Broncos have hit under 42.5 in 3 out of their 4 games this season. So that's 7 out of 8 games this year. These teams have had under 42.5. I just don't know if they're capable of putting up 3 touchdowns each. Like
where are the points coming from?
Yeah, these teams are tied for fewest touchdowns on the year with 6 total.
Yeah.
6.
And they need 3 each.
Right. And I just don't think it's going to happen. But it's a scary selection because it almost feels like a trap.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
All the stats are saying that these teams aren't going to put up points, that this game is going to be low scoring, that, it's going to be a field goal match. I mean, odds are these teams come out and, it's 35-28.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen. We look silly. But, for this week, I think Let's ride with the numbers.
Yeah, we're going to keep fading the public in prime time, 30% on this under pick. So let's move over to the Sunday games. First one, we got kind of an interesting matchup. Chargers are only -2.5 in Cleveland against the Browns. I like the Chargers in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers at this point are probably the better team than the Browns, especially with the Browns missing Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett.
Right.
And, the Falcons ran, I want to say, like 14 consecutive rushes at some point last week. So the Browns pretty much have a pretty clear flaw here. And I don't think people are really acknowledging the fact that the Chargers, like, yes, they were pretty banged up. Like, they came back and they responded against the Texans. Like, they were really trashing them for most of the game and specifically running all over them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with the Chargers, they're the 32nd team in rush defense. And the Browns, we know they like to run the ball at will. Yeah. So the Chargers are last in the NFL.
That's scary.
Against the run. So that's kind of a scary stat. Like, I feel like the game script for this week almost favors Cleveland because the run defense for San Diego, LA, is so abysmal. But I just like Justin Herbert to throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game. Like, I think he can single-handedly carry them.
Really? I don't know. But that concerns me a little bit because it seems like the way to beat the Browns, at least right now, is to run the ball down their throat. Can the Chargers do that? I mean, that's what the Falcons did last year.
The Chargers are also 32nd in the league running the ball in rush yards per game.
That's interesting.
So I think they utilized their running backs in the pass game a lot. It's just I don't know if they're even going to be running the ball. Like, I think maybe
they should
10 to 15 attempts this game.
They should run it a lot more based on what the Falcons did. Right. The Falcons suck and they beat the Browns.
That's true, but I just think you got to put the ball in Herbert's hand as much as you can. If that's screen passes, like to get the running backs involved, you can work the short game. But I like the Chargers to just move the ball in the air.
Yeah, I mean, I think we agree. Like, they're just better.
The overall,
yeah, and like the line is like only 2.5. Like, that's pretty low.
And the public has the Chargers faded right now.
Yeah, which is interesting.
So that's kind of a red flag for Browns bettors, but I like the Chargers here at -2.5. Another 2.5 spread. Commanders at home against the Titans. We took the Commanders last week.
Didn't work out so well.
They disappointed us. I like them this week at +2.5. The Titans are coming off a massive division win against the Colts. The Commanders are coming off 2 really bad division losses.
Well,
so
I mean, the Commanders might suck. Yeah, but they might just be horrible. I mean, we know how bad Carson Wentz is.
Well, I was actually going to say Carson Wentz historically is awful in the division. Think back to last season. Like, he couldn't beat the Jaguars. Like, he was terrible in the division, and he almost pops off outside the division. He played really well against the Bucs. He played really well against the Raiders.
We'll see. I don't know.
Or not the Raiders, the Patriots.
Yeah. Sorry. I don't know. This one scares me, I'll be honest, because I think that the Titans are going to beat up the Commanders like they did the Colts. I think the Commanders and the Colts are pretty similar.
Well, the problem with the Commanders is they've faced 2 really good defenses these past 2 weeks with the Eagles and the Cowboys. And the Titans are 30
bad
in the NFL against the pass.
Yeah.
And, Carson Wentz is going to throw the ball. We have him to throw an interception like we do every week. We'll get to that later. But Tennessee is also missing Treylon Burks. Yeah. So they don't have very many weapons offensively.
They have Derrick
Woods and Henry. I mean, where else are they going to go with the football?
It was enough. I mean, they beat the Colts last week in Indy.
Yeah, but I feel like they'll be really limited in their passing attack this week. Everyone knows where the football is going to go.
I know.
Because they really don't have anywhere else.
They threw for 125 yards last week and won.
And the Commanders have a really good defensive line.
Kinda. I don't know.
On paper.
I don't know. You have a love affair with the commies. I'm not in on the government, the DC politics like that. The commies are bad. They're bad news for me. I think they're really terrible this year. Probably going to fire Ron Rivera pretty soon.
I don't know about that. I think he's still a good coach. I don't think he gets fired mid-season. I think they at least let him ride out the year, but we'll see how the season goes.
It just feels like they're not trending in the right direction, at all.
Yeah. A team that is trending in the right direction now, Detroit.
Yeah.
Somehow +3.5 this week in New England against Bailey Zappi and the Patriots.
Yeah. You make me sappy, baby.
This line
that's what the Patriots fans are saying after last week.
This line makes 0 sense to me. Zero
I mean,
cents.
I mean, it's just like, the Patriots and Foxborough, Belichick, the Lions are bad. I don't know, like, it doesn't make sense to me either.
Look, Bill Belichick is probably the best coach in NFL history. He's pulled off some incredible things like Mac Jones, winning with 2 pass attempts.
Yeah.
I don't think they have it this week. But, I really just think the Lions are such a high-powered offense this year that they're just going to outscore the Patriots. I don't think the Patriots are going to be able to put up more than 2 touchdowns this week.
I mean, they scored 24 against the Packers last week.
Yes.
The Packers are better than the Lions.
I don't know about that.
I'm pretty sure.
Call me crazy.
I will. The Packers are better than the Lions.
I think the Lions are really good this year.
They lost to the Seahawks last week. They allowed 48 points.
The Bengals lost to the Jets last year and then made the Super Bowl.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. I don't know. Like, I agree. Like, I'm bullish on the Lions, but looking like no Amon-Ra and no DeAndre Swift again, I think the offense will be okay. I'm just a little worried that the Patriots are literally going to run it down the Lions' throat, and they're going to just shorten the game.
Well, the Lions do have the bye next week, so they're going to reload, kind of get healthy for week 7. So I could see them sitting out some players in hopes that they can pull it out against Bailey Zappi, which I think they can do. But they're plus 3.5. Like, I don't see the Patriots.
They shouldn't be favored
by a touchdown.
They shouldn't be favored with a third-string quarterback. I agree. Like, I think it should be a toss-up.
Especially getting that hook on the field goal. Like, that's really
it's nice.
Good
yeah, it's juicy.
So another Sunday pick, we got Rams minus 5.5 at home against the Cowboys. The Rams looked totally pathetic on Monday Night Football.
Yeah.
Can we not forget this team won the Super Bowl less than 8 months ago, though, and everyone was ready to call Stafford a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, I mean, it's just tough sledding for him. Like, this Cowboys defense is going to be hard again this week on the road. But I'm kind of with you here. Like, it feels like it's time for the Cooper Rush experience to, go downhill.
Right.
It's like he's not playing games. Yeah, he's not playing bad, but like he's not playing good enough. Like, I feel like he's going to be asked to like do some good, actually like big time throws in this game.
Right.
And I'm just not sure Cooper Rush is that guy.
The Rams should almost dare him.
He's not him. He's not him.
No, I don't think he's him. The Rams should dare him to throw all over him in this game
and try to throw it to against Jalen Ramsey. Like, I want to see how that goes.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting matchup.
Yeah.
Moving on to Sunday Night Football, we got the Bengals in Baltimore division matchup. We like the Bengals at plus 3.5. Mm-hmm. We're going to continue to fade the public in prime time. The Bengals went 2-0 last year against the Ravens. They put up over 40 points in both games.
Oh yeah.
So I like that Cincinnati gets the extra 3 days rest following their Thursday Night Football last week.
Mm-hmm.
I just think all the scripts favor Cincinnati, and I don't think they should be the underdog in this game.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's tough because Baltimore is coming off of a couple of really hard losses here.
Right.
And, I mean, it feels like they are just going to have a game where they get out to a lead and then they don't give it up. And, they win like 40-14.
I don't know about that. 40-14.
I mean, they were
offense.
I'm not saying on the Bengals. I'm just saying, like, in general, like, they're due for a week like that. Like, last week they could have beaten the Bills 40-14 if they like actually kept playing well. Yeah. They were up 20-0.
Well, that's been their problem this year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, teams out. I feel like at some point, like, it's just like the law of averages like changes. Like, I don't really believe that like a team has like. I don't think the Ravens have like a critical flaw here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think they're just kind of like gotten unlucky and like had some bad game plans and like they're going to remedy that. So I don't know, like this one kind of scares me, but like it is prime time. So I do think it's going to be, a tight game, like
division matchup. It'll be gritty.
Yeah, exactly. So like,
I don't see this game being a blowout. I really don't.
I don't either. But like, I wouldn't say that the Ravens like look bad, like they've had massive leads on the Dolphins and the Bills. Like, I could easily see them getting out to another one of those leads, but I really do think that Joe Burrow and the Bengals will be able to like just toss it all over the Ravens secondary.
I mean, I think they will too. I like Jamar Chase to get open a lot in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals offense kind of reminds me of the Dolphins offense. Yeah. They've got those 2 stud receivers and everything kind of revolves around that. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're probably going to be able to get behind the Ravens secondary a good amount.
Yeah, that's why we like the Bengals at plus 3.5 here. They don't even really have to win this game, backdoor cover.
Oh, yeah. Okay. It just has to be close.
Right. So moving on to Monday night, we got the Raiders in Kansas City. The Chiefs have been really good this season, but we're fading the public. Prime time. We like the Raiders at +7. I just think they're going to coast off the inertia of their past win. And Josh McDaniels, and the Raiders, I think they just have more weapons offensively than the Chiefs with Devontae and Waller and Renfro's coming back, and Josh Jacobs has been playing really well this season. And, it's really just them against Mahomes and Kelsey.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I agree with that. Like, the Chiefs' skill position players have been pretty good. Like, Juju and MVS have actually been pretty solid.
They've been overperforming.
And Clyde has been good.
But I wouldn't, I would take Devontae, Waller, Renfro, and Jacobs I take 3 out of 4. The only person I wouldn't take is Kelsey.
Yeah, like I'd maybe take Renfro over Juju. I don't know. Like, I think they're pretty even, but like right. I get where you're coming from. Like, the Chiefs are coming off like a huge emotional win. Like, this is probably a letdown spot. The reason why this scares me a little is that it's in prime time. If this was at 1 o'clock on a Sunday, I'm with you. But like, it being on Monday night, like, the Chiefs are going to get up for this game.
Well, the Chiefs play in prime time a lot.
I know, but like, it's still, I don't know.
They're not good. They can't win them all.
They can't win them all. That's fair. But like, the Raiders, I don't think they're as good as you think they are.
That's fair. I mean, I really don't think they're that good. I just like them to keep this within a touchdown.
Yeah, they have played some close games, which is fair. That's fair. They do keep things close. I don't know. I'm not in love with these picks on all these terrible teams, but I understand where you're coming from.
No, that's totally valid.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for prime time, it's about the public fade, but I kind of the Lions are an easy pick this week.
I like the Lions pick as well. I mean, the Commies, the Raiders, they scare me.
Yeah, I mean, they're scary.
I mean, and the Colts too.
I don't even consider those my scary selections this week.
I know.
Like, I'm pretty confident about these spread picks,
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't know, the Chiefs just went into Tampa Bay, right?
Yeah.
And they won by 10. By 10. And now they're at home and they get the Raiders, who are
worse than the Bucs.
Yeah. I mean, the Raiders got their first one last week, so they're riding high.
Vegas knows, if the Chiefs just beat the Bucs by 10. So there's a reason this is 7. The Raiders are definitely worse than the Buccaneers. Like, Vegas is.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a trap game.
Vegas knows.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, the Chiefs just scare me. Like, it's scary betting against teams like the Bills and the Chiefs that are like kind of like Super Bowl favorites. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's just always scary.
So moving on to our parlays this week, we got the easy money lay. First, we got the Bucs at home against the Falcons. We got the Packers in London against the Giants, then the Vikings at home against the Bears. It's kind of just all 3 teams are better. It's really that simple. I don't think there's anything more to it than the fact that the Packers, Vikings, and Bucs are all likely to make the playoffs, and I don't think the Falcons, Giants, and Bears will, despite the Giants' early success.
Yeah, I mean, and it helps. We get the Bucs at home, the Vikings at home. That's those teams I feel like should take care of business there. The Packers in London scare me a little bit, but the Giants don't have a quarterback.
Yeah,
like at all. He might play, but like if Daniel Dimes plays, he is not going to play well.
Yeah, Twitter was saying that they should re-sign Eli Manning.
Oh, get him out of the Monday night booth. I like that. I don't hate it.
Yeah,
so he could go out there and sling it.
So now we're going to move on to our Hungry Dogs parlay. So this week for the Hungry Dogs parlay, we have the Colts money line against the Broncos, Commanders money line against the Titans, Lions money line against the Patriots, and Bengals money line against the Ravens. We have 3 of these teams, we have all 4 of these teams to cover the spread this week. So I like them to win outright as well.
Yeah, why not? Just sprinkle a little bit, put them all together.
Yeah, nice tune it here or there.
Yeah, why not? It's an interesting bet. Like I said, I'm not in love with really any of these teams, but they could all easily win.
Right. I mean, I like
all the teams they're playing aren't that good either.
And they're all underdogs.
Yeah.
That's why the Hungry Dogs run faster.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you saw with the little animation, they were barking, they were hungry. They were running fast.
We've already hit a Hungry Dogs parlay this year.
Yeah.
So I really like the Hungry Dogs to eat this week.
Oh, yeah.
So now we're going to move on to some of our same game parlays. this week for the same game parlays. We have 5 instead of 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of good action this week on the same game parlays. It's really just about continuing the success this year. So far, we're 14-8. And so we're going to look to keep it going. So first we have the Colts plus 9.5 in Denver, and then the under 51.5.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a teaser of the 2 picks you gave out earlier for this game.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, give a little bit more. I mean, 9.5 is pretty big spread there. Like,
I don't think the Broncos are capable of putting up more than 20 points, and I think the Colts are going to score 2 touchdowns in this game.
Yeah, so I mean, this one, you kind of just hope that it's kind of close and kind of boring.
I think that's
which is what it's probably going to be.
That's what everyone's expecting for tonight. Yeah. So, we'll probably get the shootout of the year. But I like the Colts plus 9.5, the under 51.5 in this game. Kind of, as you said, a teaser of the picks we have for Thursday Night Football tonight. Moving on, then we have the Packers money line in London against the Giants, and then the over 30.5. Kind of big, higher odds at minus 185, but I really just don't see any game script where this doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, 30.5 is so low. Like, that's like comically low. The only way that happens is if I feel like if the Giants actually don't score any points.
Right. Like, this is the first London game ever where both teams are over 500.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Good for London. Good for London.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope they enjoy this football.
Cheerio.
We're giving them, Aaron Rodgers. Maybe we can just leave him there. Criminal. Deport him finally.
Yeah, I don't know about that, Bears fans.
I don't know. I mean, it's not a bad idea. He's already over there. Just don't let him get back on the plane. He's immunized. Immunized.
He's
He's a drug addict. Likes to take ayahuasca.
Yeah, he's immunized.
He's immunized. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, I like this one. I mean, the Packers are probably going to win. If they win, it's going to go over 30.
I like this game, 24-14 final score.
Yeah, that would be – hopefully the London fans don't get that. They don't deserve that.
I think I need to watch back our first few episodes and see. I threw out some scores here and there, and I wonder if I was right on any of them.
Definitely wasn't.
We haven't been keeping track of the scores that I kind of throw out there, but I think I'm going to look back and see if
we're accurate or not.
If I hit any scores. Because if I did, then I'm just going to start betting on these scores.
On the exacto scores?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those odds are so fun.
They're plus 8,000.
Yeah, it's always ridiculous.
It's like $1 to 180. Why not?
Because it's not going to happen.
Well,
that's why I'm going to watch it back. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
that's why I'm going to watch it back to see if it happened.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
So
got to watch the all 22.
The all 22 cam.
Yeah.
So moving on, we got the Steelers plus 24.5 at the Bills, and then the under 56.5. I think the Bills are obviously going to win this game. That's totally undisputable.
Yeah.
I just think the Steelers can keep it within 3 touchdowns and a field goal.
Maybe.
There's a reason I took it at 24.5 and not 23.5. I actually think the Bills could win this game by 24.
Yeah.
But 24.5 is a lot. You don't see many NFL games.
Yeah, I mean, and 56.5 is a pretty high number as well.
Right.
The Bills could do that.
The Bills are by themselves. The Bills are going to win this game 35-14.
Yeah. See that?
Easy. 38-14, 35-14.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
As long as it hits
the under. Who cares?
Yeah, as long as it hits the under, I really don't. Then we have the Lions plus 13.5 in New England and the under 55.5 for this game.
Mm-hmm.
Similar story.
You're right. If the Patriots win this game, it's because Bailey Zappi threw it 15 times and they ran it down the Lions' throat and they shortened the game, which means that the final score will be 21-17.
Right. I was going to say 17-14.
Yeah. It doesn't matter. I don't see how the Lions really get blown out in this game because they can score points and the Patriots can't really score.
Right. I think either the Lions put up a lot of points early and kind of take the life out of the Patriots with their third string quarterback in. Or, as you said, the Patriots control the game tempo and run the ball a lot, and it's just a low-scoring matchup. So either or, I think the Lions can put up 35 points on their own.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think the Patriots are putting up 20 points this week, regardless of how many points the Lions put up.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So that's kind of why I like this under 55.5 with the Lions.
I like that.
Then we have the 49ers plus 3.5 at the Panthers and the over 32.5.
I love the Niners plus 3.5, over 32.5. I don't know. The Panthers actually might not score. Like, I'm not joking. Like, they might actually not score.
I don't know if they won't score. I just think 32.5 is a really, really low number. Like, I think if the 49ers put up 3 touchdowns, I think they could score 3 touchdowns, and I think the Panthers can get the over.
Like 21-3, though.
I don't think it'll be 21-3.
I don't know. We just watched that game on primetime. Like, the Rams offense couldn't do anything. What makes you think Baker, little man-child running around back there, is going to be able to toss anything into the heavens?
It's not even about that. Like, the 49ers could go up there and put up 24.
It's just on the road. Points. No, I get what you're saying.
I like the over 32.5. It's just a really low number. I don't know how many NFL games this year have actually gone below 32.5, but it cannot be many.
If they are, they usually probably include the Panthers.
Let's go to the tape.
They're not good at scoring points.
So last week, the Carolina Panthers, it was 26-16. They lost. So that hits this. Yeah. This over. And then week 3, the Panthers.
Just click on them.
Yeah, that's a good idea. 22-14. So that also hits this
barely.
over.
Barely.
Yeah. But 22-14 also hits this over. Then 19-16. That also hits us over,
but barely.
And then 26-24.
Yeah.
So all 4 games this year have gone over 32.5. But I totally get your point about them.
They're close.
Yeah, they're not a good enough team to be relied on to score a lot of points, but I don't really think that's the goal.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I mean, I think it's valid. Like, most games go over 32.5. Like, that's just gross.
Right.
Yeah.
So now let's head into our player props for this week.
Oh, yeah.
Last week, 6-6. You're recovering. You kind of struggled that 1 week when you went 1-11.
We're not talking about that week. Not talking
about that
week.
It's
not talking about that week.
It's behind us.
Yeah, 6-6.
6-6 last week. So we're going to start off with the passing yards.
Yeah, some good things happened.
Thursday night football. We got a prop for tonight. Yeah. Russell Wilson over 230.5.
Yeah, Mr. Unlimited, Broncos country. Let's ride. Yeah. So I mean, Russ, as we talked about earlier, like, he's off to a pretty terrible start, but I mean, yeah, like, he's been bad, but like, he's not been as bad as it seems.
I mean, they're 3rd worst in scoring.
Yes, but this has nothing to do with scoring. He's still throwing for 245 yards per game on average, so that means if he throws for his, average on the season, he's hitting this by 15 yards. But what's more interesting to me is that he's averaging 301 air yards per game. So he's kind of not realizing like the full potential of the passes he's throwing. And he's still throwing a bunch of deep balls, which is really like what he's good at. He's the best in the NFL at that.
Right.
Usually he's doing it 5.5 times per game, which is 3rd in the NFL. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, like, they lose Javonte. The receivers are all kind of healthy. They have, Sutton, Judy, Hamler, and their tight end, Albert O. It feels like they're
Beck.
Yeah, sure.
First name unknown.
Whatever, Beck. And the Colts defense has been like super mortal. They don't have Shaq Leonard. I don't know. Like, to me, like 230.5 is just a really low number when I think they're going to need to throw the ball to win.
Yeah.
And like, even if they're losing, they need to throw the ball. Like, I don't know. Like Melvin Gordon, like, I just don't see them riding him to victory here. Like, I think it's going to have to be through the air with Russ. And
they're not riding him to victory.
I don't know. Like, yeah. I mean, 230.5, like, that's just low. Like if that was Matt Ryan, I'd be like, okay, I get it. It's Matt Ryan. But like Russell Wilson is like still like I've watched him play. Like, he looks capable. Like, he can still throw it deep. 230.5 is a really low number.
Yeah. But I feel like Russell Wilson's almost a celebrity player at this point.
He does have that issue. That new video, the dangerous subway video. I mean, that was horrible.
Like, the celebrity player, for those that don't know, is when a player becomes almost more of a celebrity playing a sport than an athlete who's just well known.
Yeah.
Like LeBron James is a celebrity player.
He's a bad example because he's actually good.
But yeah, he's the GOAT. He is a bad example. Like in college basketball last year, Johnny Juzang.
Yeah, no, that's a good example.
Player.
Yeah. Like at times, Tyler Hero.
Yes, Tyler Hero, big celebrity player.
Like at times on the Browns, Odell.
He could have, yeah, exactly.
On the
Huge
Browns,
celebrity player.
yeah. On the Rams, he was
He
back to
worked
being
hard on the
he's
Rams.
back to being a real player.
Right. So anyway, I think Russ is kind of a celebrity player now.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, even a celebrity player should be able to throw for 230 yards against this bad Colts defense.
Right. I mean, that's how they boost their brand.
You're right. That's how they get those endorsements.
Yeah,
That's what it's all really
well
about.
on the field, and then you boost your brand.
Yeah.
Because you're a celebrity player.
Exactly. From one Wilson to another.
My favorite Wilson.
He got that dog in him.
Oof.
I'm thinking that Zach Wilson might potentially actually have that dog in him. I mean, only thing I've heard about him, he bangs his mom's friend.
Yes.
Gets hurt, leads fourth quarter comeback to win in his first start back this year. Dog. Like, enough said. But if we, dig a little bit deeper, like last week against the Steelers, he didn't play that well.
Right.
And he still had 252 yards.
But it's almost like his week one.
Exactly. So, and what was interesting is that he had those 250 yards passing, but his air yards were at 331.
Right.
So he really could have had a bigger week. And I'm thinking that's probably due to the fact that, it's his week one. He probably rushed back from this injury.
Yeah.
He's a week healthier. He has a week more of chemistry with his receivers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really thinking that, they continue to air it out.
Yeah.
They're probably going to be losing. I mean, it's the Jets. They're just probably going to be losing, so they're going to have to throw it to get back in the game. And the Dolphins, I don't know, the way the Jets have been playing, it feels like Saleh is, unlike a lot of former Jets coaches, actively trying to win games.
Yeah.
He's being, aggressive.
Definitely.
And, they feel like they should have a chance this week with Teddy out there. So, I think the Jets are going to, actually, be aggressive and try to, steal this game when they, probably shouldn't win it.
I totally agree. It'll be interesting to see how they go into this. They haven't really played many games where they feel like they can win before the game.
Yeah. No, exactly. So, I don't know. I'm thinking just, they're fired up. And, again, it's just a really low number.
Right.
And the Dolphins' defense isn't anything special either.
They're really not.
They're, pretty
so
okay.
215.5 is a really attainable passing yards number. A little higher number, Joey B.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this one earlier. And if you're sensing a theme, it's that I'm not really going against any good defenses here.
Right.
The Bengals' pass defense is pretty porous. They're actually horrible, and they kind of allow everyone to dust them. And why shouldn't the Bengals go off here? It's prime time. Yeah. You know what? They're gonna be, excited to play. They're actually gonna be focused. It feels like the Bengals and specifically Joe Burrow have kind of gotten their swagger back a little bit. Yeah. Not having to play against really, really good defenses usually does that. And let's just talk about the stats real quick. He's averaging 275 yards a game. So just his average is above this. And he's averaging 293 air yards. So again,
he could get this.
Yeah, exactly. I think he could easily blow up and have a massive game like you were talking about. But even if he just plays well, we think this is going to be a close game. 300 yards here seems pretty attainable. And we just need 275.
You know what? Another guy we really have been talking about a lot, Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily today, but on earlier weeks.
Yeah. As
we move on to the rushing yards, is Saquon Barkley. He's almost playing in inverse prime time this week.
Yeah.
It's the opposite of prime time.
Yeah, and
no one's watching.
Yeah, and I like that. I feel like someone always pops off whenever this is the way it goes. Justin Jefferson last week, no one was watching, had a huge game. And the reason why I like this one is I think the same reason why we like the Packers this week actually.
Yeah.
Is that the Giants don't have a quarterback. So what are they going to do?
Saquon's a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to run it. He's going to run it 25 plus times this week. Just write that down.
We said this a few weeks ago that Saquon should be the starting quarterback of the Giants.
Yeah, and as of right now, Saquon is averaging an insane 116 yards per game. And it's not like he's doing it as a fluke. He has the most carries in the league and the highest snap share.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems like he's kind of getting fed and he's actually back to good form and playing well. And the Packers defense that he's playing, week one, they allow 90 yards to Dalvin.
Right.
Week two, they allow 118 to Dima. And then last week, they allow 167 yards to Damian Harris and Ramadre. I don't know. It just feels like at this point, like Saquon, like if he's getting 25 touches, I don't see how he's not getting 75 yards the way he's playing right now.
You mentioned Dalvin got 90 yards against this defense. You like Dalvin this week also to get over 75.5 yards.
Oh, yeah. And this one has absolutely nothing to do with Dalvin. Nothing to do with Dalvin. Don't even care if like what his situation is. The Bears have the worst rush defense in the league. They're horrible. They will allow anyone and everyone to run all over them. Like literally the Giants ran Saquon Barkley out of the Wildcat, and he was an effective rusher.
It's true.
So, yeah, I'm just going to place this one and forget it. Like,
it's really that simple.
Yeah.
You talked about Ramondre also. You like him this week.
Yeah. And kind of sticking with the same theme as Dalvin, he's just playing the Lions. Like Rashad Penny just absolutely went off against them. And what I like a lot about Ramondre is that he's quietly on the field more than Damian Harris. So Damian Harris might be the goal line back, but Ramondre is going to be in there for all the receiving snaps, and he's going to still get some solid carries. Like he got 14 last week.
Right.
And like we talked about, they're not going to be throwing it that much with Bailey Zappi.
No.
So I really like Ramondre to get 15 touches. And as I'm like looking here, like it's really less about the yards and more like I expect all three of these guys to average about 4 yards a rush. And if they get the amount of carries I expect them to, they should easily get all of their overs.
Well, I think Ramondre will definitely be the starter in New England by the end of the year, like with the bulk of the carries too. So we could see that start this week.
I'm saying even if he doesn't, like they're going to him and Damian Harris both getting 15 touches this week.
Yeah, that's probably true, especially against a bad defense.
Yeah.
We're on a theme of bad defenses. We're going to stick with taking running backs that are playing.
Yeah. And this is actually probably one of my favorite picks of the week. The Texans defense is actually horrible. Actually, excuse my comment about the Bears rush defense being in the worst in the league. The Texans might actually be.
The Chargers are.
They're actually the worst in the league.
Actually the worst, but these are like actually the worst.
Yeah, like these are teams that are getting gashed in fantasy.
Like the Chargers will be fine by the end of the year, I feel like.
Yeah, but J-Rob, quiet week last week. Doesn't really like get going against the Eagles. The Jags, they're playing against kind of a bad Texans team here.
Right.
I think J-Rob, he's going to get back into form. He's averaging 65 yards per game anyways on the year, and he's getting 15 carries a game. So it's not like it's kind of like with Clyde, for example, like he's not getting a lot of touches, but he's producing a ton. Mm-hmm. Like if J-Rob gets 15 touches here and he averages 4 yards a carry, like that's right around this over. And I think they're going to be winning. So I think he's going to get the ball more than 15 times. I think
a lot of his carries are going to come in the second half.
Exactly. And I think he's just going to wear them down.
Yeah, so another team that's big on the wear down, kind of philosophy. We're going to hop into the receiving yards here. Amari Cooper, a weekly pick almost. We had him last week.
Yeah, and I mean, the issue is the reasons why I liked him last week are all still kind of the same reasons I like him this week. He's the best receiver on that team. Like I know Njoku has been playing a little bit better, but like he's still the clear number one. And he has 50% of their air yards on the year. So he's still like all their deep shots and all their important passes, he's really getting targeted there. And it's not like he's been bad. Like he still has, 228 yards on the year.
Right.
And if we just like get those numbers up a little bit more, he's averaging like 75 yards per game, which is like obliterating this over. And so I don't know. He gets one catch last week. It feels like this is an easy bounce back spot for him. Like his over dropped by 6 yards from last week. And I don't know. I just like him to bounce back.
Yeah. And, another team should be bouncing back this week as long as their guy plays. This is a big contingent pick. Tyreek Hill over 70.5.
There's no contingency here.
Oh, it says if Tua plays.
Oh, wow. That must have been from last week. Tua is not going to play.
Right. Tua is not playing.
Yeah. So whatever. Let's just lock this in.
Yeah.
Let's lock this in even with Teddy. And they're kind of for similar reasons here. Like Tyreek is just a beast. He's averaging 119 yards per game, which is frankly insane. And the craziest part of that is that he actually has more receiving yards than air yards, which means that he's so good after the catch that he's creating additional yards that basically he should not be getting based on the catches that he's receiving.
Right. I think the air yards are a big theme here for the receivers. Like a lot of the guys we're taking the over for kind of have more air yards than they do receiving yards normally in a game, and so their over unders are adjusted based on that basically.
No, exactly. But that's kind of like where I'm with Tyreek. Like, I just think he's playing at such a high level,
right,
that it doesn't matter. Like, whoever's playing quarterback, like, they're gonna know to throw it to Tyreek. Like, he's the best player out there. They got to chuck him the ball.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing with Tyreek Hill. The Chiefs, clearly lost that explosive wide receiver player. The receivers have been good, as you mentioned, but it's not like anyone has Tyreek Hill explosiveness.
No, he's the only one.
Right. So I think he brought that with him to Miami, and regardless of who the quarterback is, Tyreek Hill, when he gets the ball, is an explosive playmaker.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, like, especially because he's so good after the catch, like even a guy like Teddy, who maybe like isn't the best deep ball thrower, they're just going to get the ball to Tyreek. They know he's their best player.
Yeah.
And just let him create after the catch.
This will bring us to
another scary selection
for the player props. So this one, Elijah Moore over 45.5 yards. He has been overshadowed by Garrett Wilson, but you like him to bounce back this week.
Yeah, and I think that this is just kind of a storyline I've been putting out there myself, if no one else. But Zach Wilson and Elijah Moore have a great connection. And Garrett Wilson's connection, it's with Joe Flacco.
Right.
So Zach Wilson, I already like him to go over his passing yards. He's got to throw it to someone. And his favorite target last year was Elijah Moore.
Especially at the end of the year.
Yeah, and it's only natural that, like, he's going to rely on him coming off of an injury and, like, starting off the year.
Right.
Elijah Moore got this over last week. He had 52 yards on 3 catches. I think he's due for, a better week. And like we talked about, like, the Dolphins secondary is nothing special. I'm relying kind of on the chemistry here. Like,
chemistry's big, though, with quarterback receiver combinations.
Absolutely. And kind of where I see that with Elijah Moore is that he only has 192 yards receiving this year, but 358 air yards. So he doesn't have that connection with Joe Flacco. Like, he's throwing it to Elijah Moore, but Joe Flacco and him just don't have that connection. Right. So I'm hoping that Zach Wilson and him, they've got that chemistry. Hopefully they can rekindle some of that magic this weekend and, kind of throw it all over the yard.
Sure. I like them to win the game this week, honestly. Yeah. And that will require some passing yards. And I like Elijah Moore to hit his over. We don't have it as a pick this week, but I like Garrett Wilson to hit his over. I kind of like the Jets receivers this week to start connecting with Zach Wilson.
Yeah, absolutely.
A guy that really doesn't have an issue connecting, though, with his quarterback as we move to my least favorite team in the NFL, the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
Stephon Diggs over 78.5.
Yeah, this one's kind of simple, honestly. The Bills just played horrible last week. Allen only had 213 passing yards, and Diggs still had 63 yards receiving.
Right.
So if Allen bounces back to his usual, like 285 to 300 yards passing, Diggs is going to get 80 plus just from the yards coming his way, and it's just a bounce back spot. I don't know. Like, they didn't play that well. There's no way they're going to come out flat. I think they're going to destroy the Steelers, like we kind of talked about earlier. They got no one who can guard Diggs.
I agree. Minka Fitzpatrick's the safety. Yeah. He's probably the most electric playmaker on the Steelers defense with Watt out.
Yeah, but he's a safety. Like,
right. He can only do so much. He can't guard Diggs, Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie. I think they have the weapons for a big yardage game.
Well, and Jamison Crowder actually went on IR. Gabe Davis has been kind of iffy with his ankle, and his Isaiah McKenzie got a concussion, so he's questionable. Right. So, like, the Bills' receiving core is, like, not looking super healthy.
Strong.
Yeah, so, like, Diggs in particular, I think, like, Allen
knows. They're going to rely on Diggs.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Same thing we've kind of been seeing in Philly with A.J. Brown.
Yeah, and I just think A.J. Brown got that dog in him. He might be him. He's come in and he's kind of hit this over easily in 3 out of the 4 games. The only one where he missed it, he still had 69 yards, so he barely missed it.
Right.
And he's the clear-cut number one. Like, he's averaging 101 yards per game. He's averaging 9.5 targets per game. I don't know. Like, he's going to keep getting this.
I agree. And the Eagles' offense has been running like a well-oiled machine out here. So I like A.J. Brown to hit the over 73.5 because it's really a low number. He could have 100-plus easy in this game.
And it's kind of interesting. Like, I know Tyreek and AJ have like very different body types, but I think the way they play is like kind of similar, and that like they can really like, and Debo kind of goes into this category as well. Like any play where they touch the ball, like they could take it after the catch like an extra 25 yards.
That's true.
Just because like they're so dynamic with the ball,
right.
and like they're always going to be like involved in deep shots as well. So like I don't know, like 73.5, like he got 5 catches last week for 95 yards.
Yeah.
Like, and that wasn't even like a good day.
Yeah, and I was gonna say that wasn't even a solid day.
It was raining, and like it looked bad out there.
Right. On to our favorite pick, perhaps of every single week. Carson Wentz, 2 throw and interception. He had 2 this past week, brings us to 5 on the year.
Yeah,
we're really hoping to hit that 30 touchdowns, 30 interceptions here with Carson Wentz.
The touchdowns might be the harder part.
Honestly, he's 8-5 right now. 8 touchdowns, 5 interceptions through 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So we really got to get those pick numbers up if he's going to hit this 30 and 30. Don't tell anyone, but I have Carson Wentz starting on my fantasy team this week.
Ooh.
We'll keep that
brutal.
a secret.
That's brutal.
I have Tua. He got hurt. There's really not many options out there. It's like Kenny Pickett, Chino.
What are you going to do?
I went with our guy Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
I know he's going to throw the interception, so it's just kind of like, all right, when he scores his first touchdown, I'm like, I'm really only getting half of these points.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm at peace with the decision, even though I know he's throwing the interception.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, he might play well. You never know. He played well week 1.
Right. So
you never know.
Move on. Carson Wentz. He kind of makes me.
He makes me sad.
Yeah. He honestly makes me really sad. I'm
wearing
a Colts shirt right now. Thank God he's not in this anymore. Wholly awful.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna move on.
And yet somehow Matt Ryan is equally as bad.
No, I don't hate Matt Ryan yet. I really don't.
I feel like we'll get there.
We'll see what happens. I'll probably tweet after the game tonight from at Betting Den. You can see the tag down there on the bottom of the screen. Follow us on Twitter, but I'll probably throw a tweet out there about how, Matt Ryan's worse than Carson Wentz now.
Yeah.
But at this moment, he's not.
Yeah.
All right. So let's move on. Players to score a touchdown this week. We're going to start with the guy you took last week, but kind of didn't get the job done. We're hoping he will in primetime this week.
Yeah. And I don't know, like, I feel like this is stupid, but in primetime, quarterbacks always get rushing touchdowns. Like, I don't know what it is, but like players like care way more in primetime, so they're willing to just get the job done.
Right.
And like we've talked about here, like, I think this game is going to be close. I think it's going to be a pretty gritty, electric game. Yeah, really nothing more to be said here. Like, he didn't get it last week. He gets a lot of rushing touchdowns.
Right.
I think this is going to be a close, good game. He's getting in that. So.
I agree. I actually was thinking about it. You're totally right about quarterbacks getting rushing touchdowns on prime time. I feel like Josh Allen always gets one when they're on prime time. Like
Mahomes was going to get one last week, but then he did that little flick pass to Clyde, but he would have gotten one.
Like Aaron Rodgers, I feel like gets in the end zone a lot on prime time. So you're right there with the quarterbacks getting in on prime time. Someone that also didn't score a touchdown last week, really surprising. Cooper Kupp, easily the best receiver in the NFL right now. It's a weekly bet of ours. It didn't hit last week, but he'll bounce back.
He had, I think, like a touchdown like 8 or 9 straight games.
Yeah,
it was bound to happen that it wouldn't hit. He'll bounce back. I'm comfortable betting this basically every week. Right,
and so this is a receiving or a rushing touchdown for Cooper Kupp. So that's really big time. So it's really not.
Because he got that one rushing touchdown a couple of weeks ago.
Right, first of his career. So that's why this is a receiving or a rushing touchdown for Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Moving on to definitely what is likely going to be a rushing touchdown. He almost scores 2 a game, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean.
Jamal Williams.
I don't know what it is about guys like this, but some players, like, they're just built to be like fantasy vultures.
Right.
Like, he is scoring touchdowns at an insane rate. I mean, they fucking give this guy the ball inside the 5-yard line, and they just forget about it. It's crazy.
It's like Swift's not even on the team.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's injured, but I don't know.
Well, even when he was playing, like, I just think that they did a good job feeding Jamal Williams and taking all those fantasy points away from Swift.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's an all-time fantasy vulture, and every week that Swift is out, Jamal Williams is going to go off, and it's going to involve him scoring touchdowns.
Yeah, another touchdown machine that we really do like this week, James Robinson to score one.
Yeah, and I think this kind of goes in line with why I like him so much for the rushing yards this week as well. The Jags, it's weird to say, but like they should be up on the Texans. And if they're up in the second half on the Texans, there's going to be a healthy dose of James Robinson.
Yeah.
And he's going to finish out and close out the game, running the ball and scoring, hopefully. He's their goal line back. ETN might get some of the receiving work, but J-Rob gets the work in the end zone. He has 14 red zone touches this year, which is good for 6th in the NFL.
Yeah, that's
even
really
though he's
solid.
A part-time back, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, and he's seen more snaps this year so far than ETN. I don't know if that's going to hold, but I do like James Robinson to get in the end zone in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's just more their bruiser, so I think he's
right.
a better fit for this game script.
Right, and, a game script that's going to probably favor a lot of points, high-scoring matchup, one of the biggest overs so far of the season.
And the biggest one this week.
And definitely the biggest one this week. We got a touchdown parlay, the shootout touchdown parlay. Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce.
Yeah, I mean, this one, it's called the shootout TD parlay for a reason. Like, this game is probably going to be a shootout, and I don't know how the Chiefs are going to stop Devontae Adams.
I agree.
And it seems like Kelce just like always finds the end zone in prime time, and he's kind of like the one Chief I like feel comfortable like believing in.
Right.
Because like I don't really want to bet on Clyde. Like he scores a lot, but like he doesn't touch it too much.
I agree.
Where like I think Kelce like in prime time, like I like him to get into that.
It's like even Devontae, he had a really awful week and still had that one catch for a touchdown.
Exactly.
So I think I like both these guys to get into the end zone. They're really consistent players, and overall, that Monday night game is probably going to be one of the better games so far of the season, I think.
Wow. Yeah, you have a lot of faith in the Raiders.
No,
but
like
it
in
might be a lot of
in
scoring.
terms of like entertainment value.
It could be 28-7 real quick.
I don't see that happening.
I didn't think that they were going to do that to the Bucs, and then they went ahead and did it.
That was still a pretty good game, though.
Yeah, it was. It was definitely
the thing is about that game, I feel like if they played it again, the Bucs would win. Like the Chiefs got the ball to start both halves.
No, I hear you. The Chiefs are good.
I know. I'm not.
The Chiefs are good.
Obviously, the Chiefs are really good, but the Chiefs had 14 points on the first 2 drives of each.
Yeah, no, that's fair. They got like some free points.
Rashad White fumbled the opening kickoff. That doesn't happen all the time. I think if they played it again, it would be a lot closer of a matchup.
I mean, I think it's between the Chiefs and the Bucs at Tampa Bay. It's kind of a coin flip. Where like the Chiefs, if they played the Bucs in Arrowhead, I think they're probably winning every like 3 out of 4.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So that's all we got for you.
That's the show this
week. Obviously, no Jimmy this week. No,
he was on
Hall of Famer. He's out with an illness.
Yeah,
COVID-like symptoms.
He's on IL.
Yeah, we did not want to have him in studio this week.
No.
Jimmy, get better. Yeah. We'll have you here next week. But yeah, peace.
That's it.